Welcome to episode 2 of the Coaches Main Event Marathon. I'm your host, Manpreet, and we are here to break down UFC 272 and, in particular, the main event between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Before we get into that, though, let's take a look at what the standings are looking like after the first event between the coaches at UFC 271. James Krause has the lead after he was able to cash on Bobby Green, and he now currently sits at plus $62.50 with his $100 wager. And number 2 is Cody Donovan, as he cashed on the easy ticket here on Israel Adesanya, and he profited $36.36. Unfortunately, the remaining 4 coaches took a loss on their first event. Santino DeFranco lost $100 on Derek Lewis after that banger of a fight with Tai Tuivasa, where he ultimately ended up getting slept. And then the remaining 3 coaches, Marc Montoya, Nicksick, and Tyson Chartier, all fell short by trying to get on that Blonde Brunson train. Unfortunately, Jared Cannonier ended his night in round 2 and ended that $100 of those 3 coaches. Now we get right back into the thick of things at UFC 272, where 3 of the coaches, James Krause, Tyson Chartier, and Cody Donovan, will help me break down Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington. And then at the end of it, they'll be giving me their pick for the competition. Stay tuned for the back end of the show, where you guys also get the picks of Santino DeFranco, Nicksick, and Marc Montoya, as they want to try to get back into the winning column and try to dig themselves out of that hole that they dug themselves into. All right, without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns with the coaches. First up, we got my guy Tyson Chartier. Kicking things off, we got my guy Tyson Chartier of the New England Cartel. Tyson, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Just trying to finish off winter up here in the Northeast.
Trust me, I'm from Toronto myself, so I definitely feel all that snow and stuff. We've had snow sitting on my lawn for at least 7 to 8 weeks now. Hasn't melted. It just keeps going. I'm thinking that's the same thing that you guys are dealing with as well.
Yeah, we had a melt this week, which is nice. But I guess Friday, it looks like Thursday night into Friday morning, we're getting another foot of snow. So one more snowstorm to end the winter.
Oh, please. I'm over this. I need to see my lawn again. It's been too long. I miss mowing my lawn compared to freaking shoveling the driveway. So hopefully we get to do that very soon. Obviously, you kind of fell flat on your first attempt at UFC 271, going with the Blonde Brunson. A lot of the coaches obviously actually went with him too. 3 out of the 6 there, but we're back for UFC 272, and I obviously want to take this time to actually thank you for doing the Coaches Challenge here. It seems like you guys are already having some fun. What did you take, if anything, from the first edition that we did at 271, and how do you think you're going to change it moving forward, if at all?
Man, I'm gonna double down on these underdogs. I feel like Brunson was a good pick. I think the other coaches are smart for picking him, and I think we all got Brunson that night. It was it's like the first round went how I thought the fight would go, and then it just didn't go our way. So it was but it's fun, man. It makes watching the fights a little bit more fun, and sometimes it's hard because you don't want to pick against certain people, but things like this are fun. It forces me and the other coaches to talk a little bit, and it's all, this is a pretty stressful thing that we do, and there's only very few people in the world that are doing what we're doing, so it's good to have like a network of coaches like this that you can kind of banter with and and learn from, and kind of get a little chippy with sometimes, and make fun of each other.
Absolutely, man. That was the whole goal of the show, was just to kind of put some friendly competition amongst you guys. You guys already have some friendly competition whenever you guys go up against each other actually inside the cage. But now let's try to make it a little bit more fun, where you guys aren't actually going up against each other, fighter against fighter. But we're here to break down UFC 272, specifically the main event, welterweight scrap here between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, a grudge match of sorts, if you want to call it that. Obviously, the long-standing thing here is that they used to be training partners. They even used to have like this vlog they used to do together back in the day. I think it's called Tales from the Crypt or something like that. If anybody hasn't seen it, make sure you guys go check it out on YouTube. You see babyface Masvidal, babyface Covington, just living a jock lifestyle. It was hilarious seeing that. But now obviously we see them kind of having the fall apart, and now they're scheduled to go up against each other. Jorge Masvidal 1-2 in his last 3 fights. Obviously those 2 losses coming in welterweight title fights against Kamaru Usman. And on the flip side, same thing with Colby Covington, 1-2 in his last 3. Both of those losses also coming to Kamaru Usman, 170-pound king at the moment right now. But this will more than likely put one of these guys right back in to those title talks. Right now, in terms of odds, we're currently looking at minus 350 for Colby Covington, plus 270 the return on Jorge Masvidal. So I pose the question to you, Mr. Tyson Chartier. How do you see this fight going down? And ultimately, who do you think gets their hand raised?
I think I agree with the odds. I think it's if you look at it, on paper, it's Kobe. I feel like Kobe should win. I think he's going to utilize his wrestling, and Masvidal. He's had like a career resurgence, but it's kind of like mostly in popularity. Like he's obviously a super talented fighter. I'll watch any Jorge Masvidal fight. I respect him and everything he's done, but I mean, it's not like he wasn't on the same tear that Kobe was to get to the point where he's at. And I also think when you look at the dynamics of it is, Kobe was the first one kind of starting to, from what I understand, Kobe was kind of the first one saying, yeah, I want to fight my buddy, I think that always kind of has some power in it too. When you're friends with someone, there's kind of the unwritten rule, you're not going to fight them unless it's for, a title or something like that. And then the first one that kind of crosses over that invisible line and says, I want to go. I feel like generally they kind of have the mental advantage there. Not to say that Jorge Masvidal is mentally weak at all. I think that's probably one of his biggest strengths, that he's not mentally weak. But I think, he crossed that invisible code, bro code, I guess. And now he wants to fight, and I think, he is on a good run. I think if you look at what he's done with Usman and over 10 rounds, or really nine and really almost 10 rounds, what he's done with, I mean, he took some rounds from the champion, and I think in my opinion, I think Colby Covington should be in the talks for the pound for pound list, like, not at first or anything, but if Kamaru Usman's the best fighter in the world, this guy's gone 10 rounds with him and like won some of them and looked good, and there's arguments that he could have even won more. So I think, you got to take Kobe as a serious contender. He seems like he is improving. He's getting more well-rounded. He can always use that wrestling if he wants. And then on the other side is, Masvidal's lost 2 title fights in a row. But before that, a win over Diaz, okay, another 55er. Ben Askren at the tail end of his career. And then, you're looking at Darren Till kind of when he's going through some stuff. And, yeah, so it's not been the same last few years for – they both lost to Usman twice, but I think they're coming at it from like much different paths before they got there.
Yeah, in terms of the odds, I think you're absolutely correct that they're pretty much where they should be. And Colby Covington, like you said, was neck and neck with Kamaru Usman pretty much the entirety of that trilogy, outside of the couple knockdowns that Kamaru Usman was able to land. Judges, all 3 judges for that second fight actually gave Covington at least 3 rounds, right? Like I believe it was one judge that gave him round 3, then another judge gave him round 3 and 4, and the other judge gave him round 4 and 5. So like he had an argument to win each of those last 3 rounds. Obviously, the first 2 were in Kamaru's favor. So that I absolutely agree with you. He should be number 2 pound for pound if Kamaru is number 1, because it's very difficult to deal with the guy that has the wrestling of Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, but not just that, the cardio is a big part of that as well, to fuel wrestling. And you as a coach know yourself, wrestling is the most strenuous part of the MMA game. If you can go out there and showcase solid cardio, even while wrestling for a solid 25 minutes, you're one of the greatest in my books. I mean, there's not many people that can go out there and beat any ingredient like that. On the flip side with Masvidal, I think you broke down his recent resurgence pretty well. I give him the Darren Till fight. I think that's a tremendous performance. I won't take anything away from that. But then the Ben Askren one from July of 2019, if he doesn't land the knee, how does that fight go, right? Like, it's very small things like that. I even like to look back at the Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo fight. 13 seconds, we get one punch and Jose Aldo goes down like a ton of bricks. How does that fight play out if it goes 15, 25 minutes? Does it the same result, or do we see Conor still knock him out? Do we still see Masvidal still go out there and land that knee against Ben Askren? Or, like the odds reflected that night, Ben Askren was a sizable favorite in that fight. Was he going to go out there and ragdoll Jorge Masvidal, as a lot of people expected him to do so? So the question is here, will Masvidal be able to find that chin of Covington at a certain point in this fight? or has Covington really rounded out his game well enough now where he's comfortable in the striking, like I thought we saw in the Robbie Lawler fight, and he's comfortable enough mixing in the takedowns to be able to get the victory here? Which one do you think comes out on top? And also, if you were to make a bet in that fight, are you taking the big plus money on Masvidal, think he's eventually going to be able to get that knockout, or do you just want to keep that safe money and just go with Colby all the way here?
I'm going to go with the safe money. I think Colby's going to have the cardio and the wrestling advantage, and then obviously there's mental warfare going into it. I think they're both decent at that, so maybe that cancels itself out a little bit. In the past, they both had grudge matches, and so I don't see that playing a huge factor. I really think it's going to come down to the cardio and the wrestling, and then I think the other X factor would be the fact that he's getting a little bit more comfortable at MMA Masters. He's getting used to their system. He's getting used to a different building, different coaches, and he just went 5 rounds with Kamaru Usman with that coaching staff, and they're just going to get more cohesive since then. So he looked good in that fight. He's doing some things that he wasn't doing before. He's not just a guy who's just going to shoot forward naked, not setting it up. Like, he was being a more well-rounded fighter. And I think, I'd be surprised if we didn't see even more improvements going into this fight.
I love it. I love it. So you're going with the Colby Covington side. I completely agree with you in that aspect. Now comes the fun part of the game. The whole point of the main event coaches marathon is to see where we can stack up. I give you guys $100 every pay-per-view. What are you rolling with for UFC 272 on the main card?
I'm gonna go with Edson Barboza. He's a plus 130 now.
Yeah, plus 130.
When I made the pick, he was a plus 140, so I'm losing a little bit of money here. But plus 130, I just think that Bryce Mitchell's a beast, but he's a beast on the ground, and go basing off of the Andre Philly fight. I think if Andre Philly fought a little bit smarter in that fight, he had a couple instances where he didn't take advantage when I thought he could have got a finish. And Andre Philly's super talented, and I thought Andre Philly could have won that fight. And Edson shown that he's pretty hard to take down, and if you do take him down, he's still hard to take down. Ige had a little bit of success with that, but even then, it wasn't like he got on top of him and just held him down. And Ige's, he's a tough grinder too. So I think, and that was Edson's first fight at 45, so I think he settled into the division a little bit more. I do think he laid an egg in his last fight against Giga, but that was a kickboxer trying to fight a kickboxer. So I think this fight, it's going to be more of like he's going to try to sprawl and brawl, so to speak. He's just going to manage distance a little better, defend a few takedowns, and then go at Bryce when he gets him on his heel.
I love it. I love it. Definitely one of my more favorite underdog spots on the main card for this upcoming pay-per-view. And I don't blame you for taking a shot on it, especially after whipping on your initial pick with Blonde Brunson. But I think you're going to be able to get that money back here.
Hopefully, man. I can't pick any favorites now. I gotta double down like a degenerate and keep picking underdogs. And I figure if I could just keep picking underdogs and 2 out of every 5 of them win, maybe I'll have a chance here.
Maybe. We still got a ton of more contests to go. I believe there's at least 9 or 10 more pay-per-views to round out the rest of the year. So plenty of time to still make some ground up there. Tyson, appreciate you taking the time and doing this breakdown with me, man. I really appreciate it. Shout out to the rest of the coaches that are doing it as well. And my guy got Colby Covington in the main event, and he's going with Edson Barboza and as his main event challenge pick as well. Tyson, appreciate you, my man.
Thanks, brother.
Next up, we got my guy Cody Donovan out of Elevation Fight Team up there in Colorado. First and foremost, Cody, I know we're already an event into this challenge. I do appreciate you accepting the challenge and taking on the rest of these bozos that we got, these degenerate coaches that we got as well. Man. Thanks for doing the show, my man.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
Absolutely.
Looks like fun. I'm having fun.
Absolutely. You're in second place right now at UFC 271. You managed to cash on Israel Adesanya. 4 of the other coaches fumbled the bag. They ended up taking a loss. James Krause is obviously at the top right now. He ended up taking Bobby Green that night over Nasrat Hakparas. What did you make of Adesanya's performance that night? Were you happy with what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, it went like I thought it would. That was a tough fight. It was a tough fight. No way around it. I had some questions about the second and third round. I want to go back and watch it again because it felt like he kind of pulled off. And I don't know if that was because of adjustments from the opponent or if that was or what exactly happened there. I remember Rogan was talking about possibly a broken hand, which didn't pan out. And I don't know. It didn't go exactly like I thought it would, but he's that kid's a monster, bro. So good.
You still got money in the bank account now with that win. That's all that matters at the end of the
Yeah,
day
I mean,
here, right?
part of me wanted to choose an underdog and like go big, and I didn't see any picks that I really believed in. And I love Izzy, man. He spent some time at Muscle Farm with us back in the day, and he's just a stud. And like I can't, so I figured it was an easy pick.
Again, this is a long contest anyway, right? We're going for the full year here, and if you want to take those easy wins, by all means, go and take those easy wins. Hopefully, they don't come back and bite you in the butt when you do take a big favorite.
I'll be taking some easy wins.
I can't wait to hear it. All right, we are here to talk about UFC 272, in particular, the main event, a welterweight scrap between Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington. We know the story, former training partners, former friends. They even used to have a vlog on YouTube together. Now they're talking shit to each other. How much of it is real? Who knows? We'll find out after the fact, as usual. I'm very intrigued to see and hear how you see this fight going down between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Last thing I'll say before spinning it on over to you, the odds, we got minus 350 on Colby Covington, which implies that he wins 78% of the time. And then on the flip side with Jorge Masvidal, he's a plus 270 underdog, implying that he wins this fight 27% of the time. How do you see this fight going down, my brother?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think what you started with there when you said, like, is that beef real or not? Right. I think a lot of people are asking that same question. And, the reality is this, it doesn't really matter if that beef is real or not. And this is why, because they were training partners, man. And one of them was like the older brother, younger brother, training partner dynamic. This is a thing that every one of us has had, right? Early in my career, I had the older brother dynamic. Later in my career, I had the younger brother dynamic. And I spent most of my career in that younger brother dynamic, which is where Colby would have found himself. And when you're that younger brother, regardless of how much you love and respect those older brother opponents or those older brother training partners, you want to get the best of them, dude. And when you have the opportunity to do it, when you have the opportunity to make that statement, it's not going to be fake, right? It's not going to be. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if they're still boys or not. If they're like, yo, let's cook up a beef and make some money. Fine, great. When they get in there, it's still going to happen because Masvidal is still going to be like, yo, man, you're my little brother, and I'm going to put my foot on your head. And Covington's going to be the other way, like, yo, it's time to prove myself. So I think either way, we're going to get a good scrap there. If the beef is real, I think it favors Covington, right? I think because if the beef is real, I think that could possibly tax Masvidal's patience. I think that his patience as a striker is one of his better attributes, and if he's going in there with some rage in his belly, I mean, I don't see him doing that a lot, but potentially could have him fighting out of anger or acting out of character, and then could cause some issues for him there. I think Masvidal is going to have issues either way, right? I'm pulling for. I think Covington gets the win in this fight. Main reasons would be, okay, so I think we're probably what Vinny Lopez and I call zone 3. So zone 3 is like kick range, right? Or one step to land a punch range. I think we're going to see most of the striking happen at that range. Makes sense for Covington to stand at that range because he doesn't want to get outboxed by Masvidal. But I think that at that range, what are their primary weapons? Their primary weapons are kicking. Masvidal is going to be less likely to kick because of the wrestling, and Covington's got a great kick game. So I think in the striking, we're probably going to see some naked kicks and some longer range weapons. And I think when it gets close, as they close the range and the distance there, that's when Masvidal is going to be dangerous. But ultimately, Covington's going to get to his wrestling and he's going to overpower him. And I see it going. It looks pretty straightforward to me. That's how I see it going.
In terms of how Masvidal can prepare for a wrestling onslaught that he's going to be dealing with from Covington, seems like he's bringing in standout Bo Nickel to kind of help him out to really shore up that wrestling, as you have it on your shirt as well. That's going to be a very interesting and important part of this fight. We did see some decent things from him in his first fight with Kamaru Usman, where he was able to keep that fight standing, and the majority of that fight took place on the cage. That was the infamous foot stomping fight where Kamaru Usman was just getting ahead of him just little by little, and it seemed like the takedown defense on Jorge Masvidal was pretty good. But I feel as though, and you can kind of attest to this in regards to Colby Covington's game, he's not just a wrestler, right? Like he can go out there and he's finally refining his striking. He can put on a pace, put on output, put on volume that a lot of guys are not able to keep up with. But there's always that possibility of Jorge Masvidal finding that chin. The guy has some decent power. I think it's underrated power. We saw it in the Darren Till fight, which I think was his most impressive performance during this crazy run that he's been on. How much do you think that plays into this fight, the wrestling aspect? And do you think that Masvidal will have success in terms of keeping this fight standing?
Yeah, I think he could have success keeping it standing, early on. How many times can you hold off Covington? And can you hold him off for 25 minutes? Like my guess is no, right? And if Covington's smart, he's not going to try to hold Masvidal down early, right? He's going to tax his arms by tying him up in the clinch and getting involved in that wall fight, right? He's going to take him down and let him up and make him work his ass off to get up. And then as he gets up, he's going to connect to his striking because he's not just a wrestler, right? And I think Covington does a good job of utilizing the threat of wrestling to land dangerous strikes and things like that, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important weapons in mixed martial arts, right? Like if two guys are standing there and they're about to box and one guy pulls out a knife, right? the other guy has to respect the knife. So he automatically punches less, only throws power shots, and starts backing up. And that's the equivalent of what Covington does with his wrestling, right? Is he shows it to you. He doesn't hide it. He lets you know it's there, and he affects your ability to engage with your weapons, So, and I think we're going to see that.
I think you're absolutely correct in terms of wrestling being like the most important factor in MMA, because that allows you to make your opponent think that there's more than one thing happening in that fight. There's always going to be striking, no matter what. There's always striking in an MMA fight, but having that wrestling in your back pocket is great. I think somebody that was amazing at doing that back in the day was Cain Velasquez, which is why he's probably one of my favorite fighters in terms of having the cardio, having the wrestling, and then improving his striking to the point that he can start standing with some of these guys and letting his hands go as well. But I feel like we're seeing that from the top guys now. Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington are absolutely those guys that have the cardio, improving their striking, amazing wrestling. Even one of your guys, actually, Curtis Blades, amazing cardio, amazing wrestling. His hands are really starting to come together as well now. And I think that if you can mesh those things together perfectly, you can have pretty much a perfect fighter. I think, honestly, skill for skill, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, a notch below, but they are neck and neck in terms of pound for pound. They have the greatest ingredients that you could ask for an MMA fighter. So final prediction in regards to this fight, you're going with Colby Covington. Is that correct?
I'm going with Covington. Yeah. I think the fact that Masvidal is bringing in all these wrestling training partners and all that just plays into Covington's game. Wrestling is on the forefront of Masvidal's mind. Wrestling is, and that's exactly where Covington wants it, I think. And I think the battle is being won before it started. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome. And last question in regards to this matchup.
Sure.
Jorge Masvidal coming off the first ever knockout loss in his professional MMA career. Have you seen another fighter have to go through something like that? Or even from your own experience, how do you think that it might mess with him going into this fight with Colby Covington?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it has a lot to do with what you do after that knockout, the rehabilitation and things like that, getting your vestibular system back in check so that you're not getting wobbly in sparring and things like that. Let's assume that Masvidal has done all of those things and he's taking care of his brain and sparring is going well. Awesome, right? There's still that voice in your mind, dude, because there's a very small percentage of us around the world that have woken up on the floor in an arena, right? I woke up on the floor of the Boston Gardens with referees and doctors standing above me, and it sucks and it's scary and there's no way around it. A total loss of control. And when you step into your next fight, that is still in your mind. I never found a way to get rid of that voice. Like there's this little bit of doubt in there that goes, man, last time we lost control. Last time the light got turned off, and it's an insane feeling, man. Getting knocked out and waking up in front of 15,000 people is a fucked up thing. and there's some PTSD afterwards. So we'll see, right?
That's why I have all the respect for anybody that stepped inside the cage, because I do not have the cojones to do anything like that. I think the closest thing I've ever come to is in high school, having one of my friends just choke me up for the fun of it, and then just waking up and be like, what the fuck happened? Like that's the closest we'll ever feel to something like that. So shout out to all you guys for putting your bodies on the line for our entertainment and all that. But now comes the fun part of the show. Now comes the part where we start to stack up all the coaches against each other. I give everybody $100 and they put it on one fighter of their choosing on the main card. So I gave you the odds before we started recording here. Who is the one fighter that you're going to be looking to back for UFC 272's main card?
So I'm still going to go with a safe bet. I know that's boring, but I'm going for Bryce Mitchell, man. He's taken a little time off, but I think in that time, That is a hungry kid. My assumption is during that time he has dug in, and I think that the kid was already impressive, and I think we're going to see even a more impressive version of him. Barboza is a big step up, but I think Barboza's on his way out. He's not out yet, but he's on his way out, and I think we're going to see something big from Bryce Mitchell. So that's where my money goes.
I love it. Thug Nasty trying to win some money from my boy Cody Donovan. This will be the first. I know this is only the second episode, but
Yeah.
I believe this will be the first time where we have two coaches actually have two separate picks. I did Tyson Chartier a couple of days before you, and he went with Edson Barboza. So one of you guys is going to be coming out with $100 less, and another one of you is going to be coming out with some profit as well. So that definitely makes this challenge a lot more fun. Very much looking forward to that, Cody. Very much appreciate you doing the show, taking the time to do this. I know you got a bunch of things going on for the rest of the day, so I appreciate you carving out the time to do it. Any last words or anything you want to say to the fans and viewers that are watching before I get us out of here?
No, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks to the fans, man. There are no fighters without fans, right? Without fans, fighters are just criminals. So
I love your mindset and mentality, dude. If you guys do not follow my man Cody Donovan on Instagram, make sure you guys do that. I believe it's Donnybrook Cody on Instagram and Twitter as well. I'm not sure how much you mess on Twitter, but Instagram is definitely where you need to follow this man. Cody, once again, appreciate you hopping on and doing this with me, and good luck on Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell.
Thanks, bro.
And lastly, we have my guy, James Krause, repping Lee Summit, Missouri, Glory MMA and Fitness down there. James, appreciate you accepting the challenge with these other degenerate coaches we have as well. How's it going, my man?
It's good. I think I'm off to an early lead. Is that right?
That is true. I didn't want to start with that to get your head all big before we start this breakdown here. But yes, you are in the lead right now. You cashed on Bobby Green last time around. Beautiful cash there. That netted you $62.50 off your $100 bet. Cody Donovan of Team Elevation or Elevation Fight Team is in second place as he cashed on the easy money on Israel Adesanya there in the main event. But yeah, well, how do you feel, man? What did you think of Bobby Green's performance? And
Oh, Bobby's really good. He's extremely underrated in my opinion. And if you give him the right stylistic matchup, he can cause some drama. He's really, really difficult to hit. Really good boxer. He's awkward, throws some different angles. He's really good, man. Really good. I don't see a lot of guys outstriking him. Like, you have to be an elite level striker to outstrike him.
Yeah, that was one of the best performances we've seen from him, especially stylistically speaking. That was a great matchup for him, right? A guy that likes to throw big shots, but leaves himself to be countered. And Bobby Green was all over that. I know a lot of people normally stay away from Bobby Green fights because he fights so close, just because it's always a close decision.
I think he's gotten away from that, man. I think he's evolved from that. I really do. Like we're managed by the same guy, and it's widely known that that's an issue. Yeah. This is not like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, dude, like, you can't. Even though there's contact here and you do this and you like, that's still, it scores sometimes. So like, you gotta, you're going to have to like press people. And I think he's kind of grown up and I said grown up, evolved, I think is the word that I'm trying to look for. And I haven't really seen that in the last 3 or 4 fights. He used to fight with people and now he's going after people. Like, look what he did at Al, look what he was doing with Nasrat. I mean, Nasrat's a good striker and like, he's busting these guys up, you know what I mean? And,
I love that performance. Probably one of the best performances he's had in a long time as well. But we are here to talk about UFC 272 and in particular a welterweight main event between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. James, please break down this fight for me. What are the strengths of both guys, how they match up with one another, and ultimately who you see getting their hand raised this weekend?
George is my guy, man. I like him a lot. He was actually the guy that convinced me to go to 170, and because I seen him and I fought. I think we had a competitive fight, and he went to 70, fought an 85er as first. Long story short, he was having success there, so I talked to him, and he convinced me to go to 70, or was at least a part of that. So I like him a lot. I do think stylistically this is a difficult matchup for him. I'm not necessarily convinced that like Colby's just gonna like take him down and beat him up or anything like that. But I could see this fight turning into what Usman Masvidal 1 looked like, where he put him on the fence and held him there a lot. I wouldn't be surprised also if Masvidal knocked him out either. Colby's typically pretty durable, but The one thing that we're not talking about, or we haven't talked about quite yet, is that X factor of like what happened in training, and like they know each other's tricks, and like, you know, like one of those guys is in the other's head to a degree. You know what I mean? And I would like to think that Masvidal's probably got a little bit of big brother over him. You know what I mean? I don't know if that plays a huge factor or not. My fight brain wants to say Covington is a difficult matchup for Masvidal. I could see him holding him on the fence for 5 rounds, or, you know, maybe taking him down, putting him to his butt. Masvidal works back up, maybe has some success striking, you know, puts him on the fence, takes him down, just banks rounds against him. I could see that. And that to me, that's the most likely scenario of what's going to happen.
I find it interesting that you did allude to that first Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal fight, because I think that's a great comparison. In terms of statistics in that fight, Kamaru Usman went 5 of 16 on takedowns that night, only landing 31% of his takedowns, but he managed to get about 16 and a half minutes of control time in a 25-minute fight. And a lot of that, like you said, was against the cage. How do you rate Colby Covington's cage work, though? Do you think that he will be able to stay safe there, stay away from the power of Masvidal, and ultimately control this fight en route to a victory?
Yeah, I think Colby and Usman's wrestling is very similar. And I might even lean gas tank towards Colby and active pressure towards Colby. I mean, if you watch this fight with RDA, he worked a solid 5 rounds, like a solid 5. Now, RDA did take him down. Masvidal is not easy to take down, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he is not an easy guy to get down. And like I said, I could foresee a scenario where maybe he doesn't even get him down once, but just controls him on the fence. And also, dude, there's always so many rabbit holes, right? Like you want to dive down. With Fight Island, that fight, you know, there's so many X factors. I don't tell a lot of people this, but obviously it's going on the internet, so it is what it is. But whenever I'm watching fights, I'm breaking down fights, I don't put very much stock into Fight Island fights. Like, I don't.
Why is that?
There's such an X factor there with the travel, the time they're fighting, nobody is recovered there. Nobody is 100% there. Like, how many fights have you seen? Like, I can just give you fight after fight where you're like, God, that person looked like shit.
Yeah.
Like, even Masvidal and Usman, I thought both of them looked like a shell of themselves. You know, I didn't think either one of them looked good. They're both incredible. And I'm not talking like comparatively speaking to performances we've seen them have to themselves. I'm not comparing them to anybody else. I'm saying Masvidal and Usman in the first time that they fought, to me, did not look anywhere close to their best. They're both incredible fighters, obviously. But they just look saturated, tired, under-recovered, and that's the travel time. I mean, they're fighting at probably 4 a.m. or something like that. I fought there. I fought 3:30 in the morning. Like, nobody's recovered there. And it's like a 9-hour time difference, 16-hour plane ride. Everybody's dog shit there. So I don't take a ton of stock into those because I've seen so many fighters look so bad there.
In regards to your personal experience, not you fighting yourself, I'm sure you coached a couple guys that had to fight on Fight Island. Would you say is that why you're saying it? Did you see some of your guys kind of deal with that jet lag and the hardship? Like, that's why you're saying this?
Myself personally, as a fighter, and the multiple fights that I've coached as well, nobody's 100%. Nobody is. It's impossible. Listen, bro, it is. I will go as far as to say it's impossible to be 100% recovered when you're fighting on Fight Island, unless you're coming from that area, maybe.
Yeah.
Think about it. From America, well, for me, you go to, I'm in Kansas City. You go to Vegas for 24 hours, quarantine for 24 hours. There's a 2-hour time change right there. You get on a 16-hour flight from Vegas to Abu Dhabi. You sit in a hotel room for another 36 hours after that. And then you're there for 5.5 days.
Cutting weight.
But your body is so off. Like, I was going to bed every day, like 8 a.m.
Wow.
I didn't see sunlight for a week.
Jesus.
And then, so you go, your sleep is jacked. You've just put in a 16-hour plane ride, a 2.5-hour plane ride, and like a 12 or 13-hour time change twice. 1 9-hour and 1 2-hour, so 11-hour time change or whatever. It's just so many X factors. And then when you get there, you're like, by the time you're fighting it, dude, I'm just telling you, and you fight at 3:30 in the morning. There's no way, bro. Like, Like
It was a flat fight, though. It was a flat performance from both of those guys, right? I think it's known as the foot stomps fight.
Look at Zombie and Brian Ortega. Same thing.
Yeah.
They look flat too. Like I can just give you fight after fight. I mean, I can name a bunch if you want.
Yeah.
I can go night and day here. They're Tim Elliott and Ryan Benoit. They both look super flat. Like that's my guy. You know what I mean? Like just give me fights where I could keep going, but it's so hard to be 100% there. It's impossible.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard anybody put it the way that you just said. I think it's important for a lot of our viewers to hear that as well. So final prediction in terms of this fight: Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. Who are you picking to win, and what do you think of the odds as well? Right, -350 on Covington.
I don't like the odds.
Masvidal. Yeah,
I don't like the odds. I don't think they're right. But gun to my head, I would go Covington by decision.
Okay, I love it. I love it. -105 is what that line currently pays on Colby Covington to win that fight via decision. All right, now comes the fun part. You're the king of the jungle right now, right? You're at the top of the leaderboard. Let's see if you can continue to extend that, or if you fall back. Who are you going to be going with on the UFC 272 main card as your selection for this month?
I got to be honest. I don't really like this main card at all. Like as far as from a betting perspective, I'm killed it last week, but this week is just full of those cards that are like the line is off just enough to piss you off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just enough to annoy you. And you're like, man, that line just seems a little off, but they're probably right. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think RDA is undervalued against Fiziev. I think the Barbosa Mitchell fight should be more of a pick 'em. Mm-hmm. I think Greg Hardy can knock out Spivak. Like these are all underdogs I think could win. But
it's a long competition, James. You got all year. So if you want to take a shot on a dog or a spot that you think is too wide, you got more than enough pay-per-views to make up for it in case it blows up in your face.
The one that I feel good about, I think Holland's going to win. He's -250. It's a sucker bet, but there's nothing else that I want to win, and I don't feel great about any of the other ones. I feel like Holland's going to beat Oliveira though.
Yeah. Any analysis you want to give there in terms of how you see them matching up, or how you see that fight actually going down?
I'm just seeing Oliveira's. I think the wars are catching up to him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's just not. He's still incredible. I think he's great fighter. He's a dog. He's got all kinds of heart and durability. But I like Kevin Holland at 170. He's a big 170. He's long. He talks shit. He's able to get in your head. I think and Alex has shown in the past he can be an emotional fighter, and that typically doesn't go well for him when he is. I just think Kevin Holland's going to beat him.
I like it, and I'm glad that you brought up the weight thing here as well. First time for Kevin Holland to go down to 170 pounds, and I think he's very much going to thrive there as well. So $100 on Kevin Holland at -250 nets. James Krause $40, and that will add to his total and hopefully bring him over $100 2 events into this thing. James, again, appreciate you hopping on and doing this breakdown, Covington and Masvidal. I'm sure a lot of people are going to take some good notes from what you're able to say there. Anything you want to say on the way out, or should I just wrap this thing up?
Man, there's some good money to be made on dogs here. Like, I mean,
hit me.
Okay, so like, let's just go down it really quick. Let's go through Spivak and Hardy. What's the line on Greg Hardy by knockout?
We'll pull that up in a second. I'm not sure if they actually have those.
He's going to win by knockout.
Yeah. It doesn't look like they actually have there's no props out yet. And by the way, we're recording this Thursday before fight week.
Well, he's plus 175 right now, so it's got to be what, plus 300?
Plus between plus 200 and plus 300, I'd say, since that's the majority of his win equity.
There's value there, for sure. Barbosa and Bryce Mitchell, in my opinion, is a pick'em fight. There's value.
If it's a pick'em fight, value on Barbosa right there. Value. I'll say it for you.
Bryce is a tough kid, and Bryce is what Barbosa has had troubles with in the past. Pressure, grappler. And then if Masvidal's going to win, he's going to win by knockout. I don't see him winning a decision here. So once again, there's probably 350 to 450 plus 350, 450 there. There's value there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of value to be had. And once again, when we're talking about from a betting perspective, it's not about who you necessarily think is going to win or lose. It's about where the value sits. And that's what a lot of the guys don't understand. And what drives me nuts, and if you guys that are listening to this don't take anything away from this, I make picks all the time, and people talk shit like, oh, he all he posts is L's and stuff like it. It's not about winning or losing. It's about where value sits. And like, if you're placing bets on where value sits all the time, you're going to come ahead. You know what I mean? And it's
performance over results. That's kind of what we like to look at. Performance. Look at the methodology behind it before saying this person is just ultimately going to win by knockout. I think one example is the Roxanne Modafferi versus Casey O'Neill fight. Right? Value on Roxanne early pre-fight. But if you were to tell me that she was going to fight that way for 15 minutes, I would not have placed a bet. More often than not, she fights by clinching her opponents, trying to take them to the ground. And when she did do that in the fight with Casey, she was having success, but she just didn't do it enough. So people are just going to be like, oh, Casey O'Neill was easy money all day. But they failed to realize that, Roxy didn't fight the way she was supposed to. And when she did, she was having success. She just didn't do enough of it. So, yeah, I get you, James.
And where you can find value, and a lot of sports books don't do this, but if you can bet the money line and the over under, if you could parlay those two, that's where you can get, like, if you go Masvidal and the under, because if he wins, he's going to win by knockout, right?
Yep.
So if you go Masvidal and the under, there's real value there, like real value there. If you go or you pick the methodology of how, like, if Greg Hardy was going to win, how's he going to win? Knockout. Right? Like, you'll get a lot, or you could go Greg Hardy and the under, because he's not going to win a decision, right? There's value there. And that's where, like, trying to find that value is where a lot of people miss on, especially betting fights. It's a little bit easier with ball sports, I think. But with fights, you got to cheat the value. And a lot of books will pull off. They won't let you do both, because there's value.
James, people only want winning tickets. That's what they see value in, right? But I'm glad that you understand that aspect of it as well from the gambling side of things, because you've been doing this deep for a minute now as well. So I'm glad to see it.
I'm getting better.
Well.
I'm getting
there
better.
We go. I love to hear that. All right, James, appreciate you breaking down the card for us, the main card especially, and then obviously the main event. Good luck on Mr. Kevin Holland. Hopefully you're able to rack up and stay at the top of the leaderboard here. And the next time you're going to be back on is in May for UFC 274. I'll get you to break down the main event with me there. I can't recall what it is going to be, but I think it's Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka. So I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that as well. Anything you want to say on the way out, my man?
No, thank you for having me, bro. It's been fun.
Absolutely. All right, there you guys have it. James Krause is on Kevin Holland and taking Colby Covington in the main event. Let's fucking go. All right, that's a wrap on the breakdowns. Hope you guys enjoyed the coaches breaking down the main event. We got a little extra wisdom from my guy James Krause as well. I'm sure you guys are more than happy to hear what he has to say. But let's get into what all the picks are now for all 6 coaches. Eric Nicksick, James Krause, and Marc Montoya have all decided to go with Kevin Holland at minus 250. On the flip side, we got Tyson Chartier, obviously, as you guys heard, taking Edson Barboza at plus 130. We finally got one of our head-to-heads that I've been waiting to see between one of the coaches, with Cody Donovan taking Bryce Mitchell at minus 150. And then lastly, we got my guy Santino DeFranco, who originally picked Edson Barboza, but once he saw that Dos Anjos was on the board, he decided to switch his pick, and now he's taking Dos Anjos at minus 195. So there you guys have it. All the picks from the coaches. Let's see how they're able to rack up, and if James Krause is going to be able to hold on to the throne here with another dub this weekend, or will somebody else be able to take that from him? More than likely it would be Cody Donovan if he's able to get Bryce Mitchell to cash for him, and if Kevin Holland ends up pooping the bed and gets upset by Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Again, this is only episode number 2. So if there's anything you guys would like to see added, changed, removed, updated, anything about the show, I am more than happy to hear out any constructive criticism. Make sure you guys drop it in the comment section below. And please, let's blow this up. We hit 1,500 views on YouTube last time around, about 600 to 700 listens on audio platforms. But I want to blow this thing up even more, considering this is the first time we've ever had anything like this in the MMA world. So let's try to get as many people on board to listen to it, to hear it, and try to take as many nuggets as they can from these well-acclaimed coaches that have plenty to offer. Appreciate you guys again. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe below. And we'll be back for UFC 273, which goes down in April. And that one's going to be a special one because we got Eric Nicksick, who's going to be cornering or at least coaching Aljamain Sterling in the lead up to his fight against Petr Yan. And then with Santino DeFranco, he's going to be cornering and coaching Korean Zombie, who's going to be looking to take the featherweight throne away from Alexander Volkanovski. So very special breakdowns there from guys that are going to be in the corners of the co-main and main event. I can't wait for those guys to break it down. Not to mention, we'll also have Marc Montoya on the show to break down the main and co-main event there as well. So plenty of knowledge to be dropped for you guys. Again, please hit that like and subscribe. This is the last time I'll say it. Appreciate you guys checking out the episode. Good luck on your bets this weekend. And I'll be back Saturday evening to drop the updated standings of where the coaches sit at after all their bets and fights have gone through. Appreciate you guys as always. Good luck on your bets again. And I'll see you guys throughout the week with all the other content that I got coming for you guys. Propping you up on Thursday with Cody Saftik. Ultimate Weigh-In show on Friday with a very special guest that I don't want to name as of yet. And then obviously Saturday for the Fight Day live chat, 1 p.m. Eastern right here on the channel. Make sure you guys check it out. Good luck on your bets, folks.